Okay, today we are going to do a 8-page funeral program in Canva. If you've never done an 8-page design of any sort before, I need you to do one thing to make sure that you understand how everything is supposed to be laid out. So you're gonna go get 2 sheets of paper, just like this. They can be any size as long as they're the same exact size. They can be smaller than this, they can be bigger than this, it doesn't matter. So you're gonna put them together, and then you're gonna fold it in half, just like a book. Just like that. So it's like a book. And then you're gonna take a pencil or a pen. Whoops. I'm gonna use a marker so you can see it more clearly. You're gonna take your marker or your pencil or your pen, and you're gonna write on the cover, you're gonna write a 1. Then on the next page, you're gonna write a 2. Then on the next page, you're gonna write a 3. And if you see where I'm going with this, the next page will be a 4. And then the next page will be a 5. Turn it. So now you're right here. Next page is going to be a 6. And then a 7. And then the back cover is going to be page 8. So when they say 8-page or 16-page or 4-page, what they're referring to, they're including the covers too. So the covers both count as a page. So we have page 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. All right. So next, you can lay your sheets out like this, and this will show you how to design it. So a 1 is going to be on the right side. The 8 is going to be on the back. So this is the front cover. This is the back. And then when you flip it over, the next page is going to be 2 and 7. Going to be 6 and 3, 4 and 5, and that's exactly the way that you need to design it when you make your design in Canva. All right, now we can jump into Canva. So we're gonna go ahead and create a design. We're gonna go to custom size. We're gonna change this here to inches. We're making a big booklet, so we're gonna go for the width. We're gonna go 17 inches. For the height, we're gonna go 11. We're gonna go create new design. Keep in mind that you can download this template off my Etsy page if you'd rather just use the template and fill in your own photos and text. Just go right down here to the link below. All right, now you should be able to see your rulers here. If not, you wanna go to File, Settings, and then Show Rulers and Guidelines. Next thing you want to do is make sure we know where the halfway point is. So we're going to go ahead and drag this to the 8.5 by 11 spot. And that's how we can know how to divide the pages. So let's go to our elements. And from the elements tab, we're going to go down to frames, and we're going to pick a nice frame shape to run with, a window frame here. You can choose any frame size you like, but I'm going to go with the window frame. Now, if you remember when we looked at our diagram, you would know that number 1 is over here on the right side. In fact, I'm going to go ahead and label these pages right now so that we know where we're working at. So we're going to go to add a subheading, and we're just going to type a 1 and move that down there. And then we're going to duplicate this and move it over to here. And this is page 8. But as we said before, this is really just the front cover and the back cover. All right, so we got our frame here. Now what we want to do is add our photo. You can go ahead and add your photo here, and I'm going to go ahead and do that. Once you have your photo, you just simply drag it into the frame, and it'll take the shape of the frame. If you happen to not drag it into the frame, it'll just be like on the side or something. So you need to make sure that when you drag it from over here, you drag it directly into the frame like that. And then you can double click on it and you can adjust it to wherever you like it to be. And then once you got it how you like it, just hit done. And now we have our photo framed. Okay, so for the background, I think I want to go with like maybe some white flowers or something like that. I already have a ton of uploads that I have here that I might scroll through. And I want to use this one right here. So I'm just going to go ahead and drag and drop this one to here, and then I'm going to go to right click, and I want to go down to set as background image. Next thing I want to do is make sure that this frame stands out a little bit. So we're going to click on it. Then we're going to go to border style. And then it should be selected. The line with the cross through should be selected. But what we want to do is go ahead and click on the first one. And it's going to automatically put a black border of 4 pixels on there. We want to change that color to match the background or to match the colors we got already going on. So maybe let's do a green or this very, very saturated brown, desaturated brown. I think that looks good for now. Maybe we'll play with it and adjust it later. Next thing that we want to do is we want to put his name on here. So we're going to do that in big letters underneath. And to do that, we're going to hit the text key. Then we're going to add heading. And then we're just going to type it in. We'll do his first name first. And this font is okay, but let's do something with a little more flashiness and elegance. So maybe we'll do, these are my recently used ones. I use these kind of frequently. Maybe we'll do a cursive, not that one. If you want to look through specific types of fonts, you just click into this box and then they have like the categories separated up top, showing you how they sort of look, what you're going to expect them to look like. Or you can just type it in here. What I'm looking for is a calligraphy font, so I'm going to type in calligraphy. Hit enter. Now the ones with the crowns next to it means that you need a premium account to use them. So if you don't have a premium account, what you want to do is click on this filter button and then click on price free and then click apply, and it'll only show you the ones that you can use for free. So you can just cycle through these till you get something you really like. This is kind of cool. So now we're going to duplicate this just by selecting it and clicking on this button here. And let's switch it up for the second font. So we'll click on that, click back on our fonts, and maybe use a serif font. So we could type in serif. And it's going to show us the results here. Something like that. That looks pretty good. I don't want to spend a lot of time searching through fonts, but you can take as much time as you need to find a font that you like. Now the next thing I want to do is start getting the colors right. So maybe John might be in black, I don't know, but maybe Jackson could be in a different color. So we'll go ahead and select it and then hit text color, and ooh, that green is nice. We'll go with that green right there. That looks great. And maybe we'll move Jackson behind John. And that looks great. Now underneath, sometimes I like to put, let's move this out of our way for now. I'll duplicate this, and then we'll have another text that we can manipulate right here. And underneath, we'll just put forever in our hearts. Now this font is too big here, so what we want to do is go up to this font size number. If your font pops up as big as mine, and just shrink it down. We can even go and click into it and select one of these. Let's see, maybe 24 is cool. That's a little too small. Let's try 36. 36 looks good. And then we'll just bring it down underneath here. And maybe for this color, we'll use black again. Possibly even italicize it. Yeah, that looks good. All right. So we got John Jackson, Forever in Our Hearts. Now, typically on the front cover of the funeral program, we'll duplicate this. It'll have the date of birth and the date of passing. So we'll do sunset, that he was born. We'll shrink this down a tad bit. And then we'll duplicate that and move it over to the other end. This should actually say sunrise. Sorry about that. Sunrise is the day he was born. Sunset is the day he passed away. And to have more room, let's abbreviate the month. So sunset 20th, 2024. All right. And If you like, we can make this stand out a little bit more. And to do that, maybe we could put a color base behind it so we can go to our elements, go out of this down to our shapes, and we can select this square here, put it behind it, and we can adjust the size by grabbing this long rectangle at the bottom, and we can make this part drag across the whole top. Maybe move it up a little bit so that the text is centered inside it. And now the font's a little hard to read being this color. So let's go into our text color. You can select both of these by clicking one, hold the shift key, and then click the other one. The text color, and that's not gonna do it for me either. Let's pick one of these whitish sort of colors. Let's go with this one. I like that one. So now that stands out a little bit more. It looks pretty elegant. So now at the bottom, we can put, typically they'll have, let's make that black, and they'll put the date of the service. They'll put the church name or wherever that the funeral will take place. And then oftentimes you'll see the pastor's name who's going to be officiating. So we'll put officiating pastor name here. This a little bit smaller. We don't want that to take up all the attention. And we can also put in loving memory at the top, or celebrating the life of, or something like that. Let's make this a little bit smaller, maybe size 28. I think that looks pretty good. Now let's move on to the back side. Now the back side, back cover could possibly have a scripture up top. So I have one that I typically put on here. So I'll just copy that and paste it up here. And let's make it a little easier to see. You can use any scripture you want. You can use a poem, a tribute from someone, whatever would work for you would be great. So now let's go back into our fonts, and we'll use Noto Serif again for this cover, for the title or the scripture name. And we'll use Old Standard. I like that font. We'll go with Old Standard for the font. Now we need to put pallbearers. So let's duplicate this, bring it down, and we'll just type pallbearers. And we could duplicate this, bring this down. Pallbearer name could go there. And there's 6 pallbearers. So we'll copy this, hit enter, paste it, hit enter, paste it again. And then we'll duplicate that, make sure that they're aligned, and put the other pallbearers on the other side. Okay, got a nice balance going here. Now underneath, we'll have like a thank you or an acknowledgement. Then underneath that, we'd have the location of the funeral service, or the location of where the body will be buried, or the location of the burial site. So funeral, or wherever the burial site may be. Now, if we want to make these titles stand out, just like the back, we can duplicate this and pull this to the back side, but we'll make them, do that. We'll make them smaller this time. Just make sure that they're in the back. Layers to the back, there we go. Zoom in a little bit. Change this font color. And let's curve these edges a little bit just to give it a little bit more design appeal. So we're going to click on that, click on corner rounding, and we're going to go like that just a little bit and make sure that this is centered inside there. Now let's duplicate this shape we have, send that to the back. We need these to be legible. So we'll do that. And these two be that color. And we could add pictures up here. So we're going to go back into our elements, click out of shapes, go down to frames, and let's use the rectangle or the square, I'm sorry. Just drag it in there and shrink it down. Duplicate that, duplicate that. So now we got 3 photos we could put here. Actually, if we make them a little bit smaller, we can add 1 more. So we can put 4 pictures here. And as I said before, you add a photo by go ahead and just dragging and dropping it there. So I'm gonna go ahead and add 4 family photos here. All right, there we go. And we are finished with our cover. Now let's move on to the next 2 pages. So we can click add page, but we're not gonna do that because we wanna keep our background. So what we're gonna do is go ahead and duplicate the page, and then we'll just go ahead and get rid of everything we don't want. So go ahead and delete. Now, if you look at your diagram, you'll see that on the next page, 2 is on the left. So this would be like the obituary page. And this page over here will be page 7. So what we're going to do, go ahead and put page numbers at the bottom so that when it's printed out, all the pages are numbered in order. So we're going to go to add text, and we're going to go to add a subheading, and we're just going to type the number 2 and move it down here. It's way too big. Let's go with like size 12. That's a good size. And you want to make sure that it's not anywhere near the border here. Like, definitely don't put it down here because there's a risk that it can get cut off. So we're going to put it like somewhere like right there is pretty good. And we're going to duplicate that and move a number over to the right here. Let's try to get it in the center as best as possible. And we're going to change this number here to say 7. So now we got page 2 and page 7. Now we're going to use this photo again, but instead of using this frame, we're going to change it. So we're going to go to detach image, and we're going to delete this frame, and we're going to go ahead and go into our elements and grab a new frame. We'll use a circle frame this time. I'll make that smaller, and then we're going to go ahead and drag his picture in there, and we want a picture of him right next to his obituary. So we're going to put it right there. Again, you don't want to put it right at the edge because you risk getting stuff cut off. So we're going to do it just like that. Next, what we're going to do is make this smaller. So highlight that and then shrink it down. And for this, we'll put the life of as our title. And we'll pull this up here and we'll make that even smaller. And we're gonna grab his last name. Whoops, it's acting weird. It won't let me grab it. And put it right here. And the life of can go like somewhere in the middle. And now, 2 things we want to do. We want to add a border to this, just like how this has. So we're going to go to border weight, and then go to color, and then we're going to go ahead and add our obituary. So we're going to go into text, and we're going to go into add a text box. And since I'm making a template here, I'm going to fill in some template text so that it's just example text, so you know that the obituary goes there. So I'm gonna go ahead and double click that, paste that, and we want it to work so that it sort of isn't bothered by his picture here. So let's delete some of this. Now we're going to duplicate this, pull this down, pull it up a little bit. So now we got the text sort of wrapping around this picture. And we're going to double click on that and paste our text that we just took. And possibly your obituary might be longer, so you might fill out more text here. But since I got room, I'm going to go ahead and do something else down here in just a second. I believe that maybe it might be nice to add more photos down here. So what we'll do is click on this, duplicate that, make it a little smaller, and then let's get another duplicate, put it like maybe right here, and then one more duplicate. And then we're going to go ahead and, oops, we want to release all these photos so that we're back to template. And then we're going to just add family photos in here, and I'll do that in just a second. So that's page 2. Now the last page is page 7. Well, technically it's page 8 right here, but it's a cover, so we're not going to count that. So 7 is going to be our last page. And on our last page, we're going to put the order of service. I already have an order of service template that I typically use. So just so you guys don't have to wait and watch me type out everything, I'm going to just go ahead and paste that. But we're going to rearrange this into a new design. So let's go ahead and do that right now. Let's go ahead and delete this. And obviously this red doesn't fit our template style. So we're going to change that to a green color. And we are going to change this font here. That's pretty good. Let's make it a little bit bigger. Bring this down some. Now right here, I want to put a nice poem. So to make that stand out a little bit from here, I'm going to do a couple things. One thing I'm going to do is go into our elements, and then I'm going to go into our shapes, and I'm going to grab one of these nice shapes here, and I'm going to rotate that 90 degrees and move it here and drag it down so that we have a separation here. And then I want to change the color of it and the thickness. It's a little too thick. Let's do like maybe 2. Seems good. And let's do a different color. Let's do green, or let's do this reddish brown color. And on this side, we'll have our poem. And I have a nice poem that I already have written down. So I'm going to go ahead and copy that. I'm going to paste it here. And it's hard to read, so let's change that font size, or let's change that font color, I mean. And I think I actually want to change both of these to the font that we were already using, this Noto Serif. Looks pretty good. Let's center this, pull it up a little bit, and change this font to match this one. So to make a match, you can just easily right click on it, go to copy style, and then your cursor will turn into a paint roller. You just click on it and it copies the style just like that. So we'll center that, move over a little bit. Could actually bump this font up a little bit just to take up some more room. Although 12 is a good font size too, so this is definitely going to be legible. Now the next thing I want to do is add even more pictures. So go ahead and we're going to duplicate this, make it a little smaller, and let's add a little bit of a sort of design to this frame. So we'll duplicate that, make this one smaller, and put it behind that one. And then we'll duplicate that, behind it again, another duplicate, another another duplicate. Now I'm just going to take a second to change these photos. All right, now I just want to point out that if you're going to use a style such as this where there's photos overlapping, you want to make sure that the picture, nobody's face is getting cut off in the picture so everybody can be seen. Okay, now this is a little bit too much green for me, so I think I'll go ahead and make these black and make the names, keep the names as green. Let's see how that looks. Looks great. So we'll do that. And we're going to go ahead and copy this for the first page and paste it here, just because we got some negative space up here. And I want to retype this again, just so we don't have any negative space going on. And that looks good. So now we're going to go ahead and move on to pages 6 and 3. So again, we're going to go ahead and duplicate this page, and pages 6 and 3 we'll use, let's change this to say page 6, and this one will say page 3. So now we're going to use even more room for photos, but this time we're going to do tributes too. So we're going to go ahead and delete this. Now, one thing I want to do here is I want to add photos to the sides, the edges. So we're going to go ahead and rearrange these to add even more pictures. Duplicate that. Okay, we got too many going on here. So what we can do is just shrink them down. And I also want this over here on this side. So let's make sure that these are centered. So we select both and go to Align Elements, Middle, right? Now we're going to get rid of this time. And we're not going to have this line here. We'll actually pull tributes a little bit higher, duplicate that, and put it on this side as well. And we're going to have text here, a tribute from each person. So we'll copy this and paste it here. And there'll be a tribute for each picture or a memory. So let's duplicate that. It's covering the 6 here, so let's move that down a little bit. Let's bump it down 1, 2. And since we did that, let's bump these down a little bit too, just to make it match. All right. Now on the other side, there'll be more tributes. I'm going to go ahead and replace these photos again. So I'm going to skip through that so you guys don't have to sit and watch me do that. All right. Now, the tributes might have from dad or from grandpa or something like that. So we'll have little titles down here. So yeah, you could have titles like this, or you could, it could be their name. But the idea is to have a tribute here, who it's from, and a picture of them with the person that just passed, or just a picture of them. Whatever you guys have available for photos, right? So now we're going to duplicate this last page here so we can make page 4 and 5. Go up to here one more time, duplicate page. And then on this page, this will be the center page. So this will be just even more photos, all photos. Need all of this to organize these photos in a way where they look pleasing. So some of them will be bigger than the others. And you can even have, since it's the middle page, you can have photos stretch across like that. All right, then we want to make sure these pictures have the same style. So back to the border weight and the color. And then we just let's select all of these. Style, color, and I'm gonna go ahead and fill these in. Right, now we got a nice photo collage in the middle, and I want to copy this one more time, paste it here, but this time we're gonna stretch it across the entire page. Then we're gonna send it to the back, and then we're gonna change this color here so we could read it. Pull it down. And we'll do the same exact thing here. Send this to the back. Make a couple adjustments. All right, now we got all of our pages, but I'm still not really quite satisfied with these being that font. So we're gonna go ahead and switch that to that. Same here. Switch it to a font that we're using. And now we have our obituary. Now, when you're finished, you want to go ahead and hit the share button. You want to go ahead and hit download, and you want to go ahead and download as a PDF for print. If you need crop marks to make sure you're going to cut it right, you want to go ahead and check that box. And if you have premium Canva, you can go ahead and select CMYK for professional printing. If you don't have it, you're forced to use RGB, but RGB looks good. The colors just might be a little bit off, a little bit less saturated, or a slightly different hue. Not on the scan, but like on the colors, like the green and stuff like that. So you just go ahead and hit download, and then it's gonna take a second. Yep, and then you're gonna tell it where to save. It's gonna save right there. And then when you open it, it'll have its bleed. Notice how it looks different from the original file. It has these lines on the edge showing you where to cut. And it also has added space here where this was. You see, this is all the way to the edge, but here's the bleed. It has added space. It's to make sure that you don't accidentally chop anything off. And you send this to the printer as a duplex, or you go to the print shop and tell them that you want to have a printed book, and they'll print it out for you the way it needs to be. And that's it. If you have any questions, you can leave them in the comments below. If you made it this far, I appreciate you guys watching. Hope that this tutorial was helpful for you. Feel free to purchase this template in my Etsy web shop if you'd like to purchase the template instead of just designing it on your own. And hopefully you catch the next video. Have a good night, y'all. Peace.